me, Sam, and this is by Hook or by Needles. And today is the next step in our knitting journey. Sorry for the big sigh. I'm just really tired, but I can't sleep, so yeah. Anyway, we have learnt how to cast on, and well, we've learnt 3 ways to cast on. We've learnt how to knit, which is just simply what I'm doing here. We've also, well no, that's it, that's all we've learnt. So today what I'm going to show you is how to purl. And yeah, purling is, it's funny, a lot of people, how can I put this, people don't like doing it. People find it an inconvenience, I guess, to purl, or whatever. I mean, I never used to like it, to be honest, but it's just one of those things, you know. It's just a little bit easier to knit, I think, than it is to purl. But it is one of those things that, without purl, though, you can't get so many different designs. You can't get ribbing, you can't get, you know, you can't get really good cables. You can still cable, but not as well. You know, the definition doesn't come out. You need to learn how to purl. So we'll just do a refresher on our knit, because I just wanted to get a couple of rows done, but we'll just go a bit slower. So we're going in through the front leg, loop up and over and through, up and over and through. So this is just a refresher. I hope you've all been practicing. That was your homework. Practice your knitting. Okay. Now, when you knit, as I think I probably said in the knit stitch video, when you knit both ways, you know, back and forth, you get these little bumps, which you can see here, and you get the bumps on the, oh, well, hang on, I'll finish the row first and I'll show you. You get the bumps on both sides, and that pattern is actually called garter stitch. Don't ask me why they call it garter stitch. It's just called garter stitch. You know, it's just a name given to a stitch. So, as you can see, we have bumps on the front, bumps, waves, whatever you want to call them, and we have them on the back. So much so that it's really, you can't tell which is the front and which is the back, except I know that this is the back. Yes, I think. Yeah, and this is the front. So, what's purl? Purl is basically, you're still working in the front leg, but instead of going into the leg this way, okay, like we do for a knit, we're coming at it from a different way. And like with knitting, when you knit, the yarn is sort of like behind. I'll just show you here. It's like it's behind the needle. See how it's sticking out at the back? With purl, the thread should be at the front, which is why when I go into this stitch this way for purling, the working yarn is at the front, because that's just the way we purl. So purling, it's back to front basically through the front leg. Now, instead of going under and up like we did for our knit stitch, what we're actually doing is going over and down. So it's just a slight difference. And then we pull it off. So we come through the front leg from behind to the front, and we yarn over and down. And that's our second purl stitch. Again, back to front, over and down and off. Back to front through the front leg only, over and down. If I'm not going slow enough for you, please, use the YouTube tools to slow me down. If I'm going too slow, you can use that to speed me up. And then I'll sound like I've been sucking a helium balloon. Okay, back to front and around. And the last one. Now, if you were to purl every row, you would get the same look, bumps on both sides. So we don't ever purl both ways. If you want bumps on both sides, it's faster and easier to knit both ways. So we've purled a row. We're going to turn our work now, and you can actually see something a little bit different, apart from a bit of orange fluff that's come from my orange monster. Let's take that away. You can see that there's no bump, because when you purl, the bump comes on this side, not on behind your work. Okay, it doesn't come behind your work, it comes to the front of your work when you purl. And so what we do this time is we knit a row, and we're going to produce what they call stockinette stitch, where you get this lovely V formation at the front and the bumps at the back. So we get to knit a row, which we already learnt, but I'll take it fairly steady pace. Again, please slow me down if you need to. Let me know in the comments if I'm going too slow or too fast for you. I mean, I'm trying to go to speed that's going to be sort of suitable for everybody, but obviously, like I say, you can't please everybody all the time, so I'm just going to go at a steady pace, and you can adjust my pace with the YouTube tools. That's the best way to go. But we've already done knitting, so this should not be unfamiliar to you. Okay. Now you can see it a lot more clearly now. See how there's no bumps now on this side. This is our front now, because there's no bumps. And on the back, of all the bumps. Okay. So let's do another purl row. Okay, so purl row, once again, we want to keep our yarn in front of our needle, front of the right hand needle. So we come in, back to front, or right to left, instead of, well, left to right. That's our knit stitch. This is our purl stitch. Back to front. We're coming from the behind, from the back of that leg to the front of the leg. Okay, we are going to go over and down, and that's first purl stitch. Back to front, over and down. Over and down. Over and down. Now, I would show you continental purl, but I really, really honestly cannot do it. There are videos out there. If you decide that, you know, the continental style I showed you with knitting was a style you preferred, and many crocheters, to be honest, do prefer that, because they prefer to hold the yarn in their left hand, because, well, when they're right-handed, they prefer to hold the yarn in their left hand because that's what they do in their crochet. I learnt to crochet before I learnt to knit, but yeah, I still prefer to have the yarn in my right hand. Don't ask me why. I think because I was taught knitting by somebody who didn't crochet, and I was taught crochet by somebody who didn't knit, so perhaps that's why. Okay, so back to front, over and down. I hope to also release at the same time as this video you might have seen. So watch this video first. Well, it's pretty stupid of me to say watch this video first if you're actually watching the other one, because you won't see this until you watch it second. What I'll do is tell you on the other video to watch this one first. Yeah, that might make more sense. But anyway, because the next video will show you how we can combine these two stitches to create what we call ribbing. Just seeing if I've got any ribbing handy. I've got a bit of ribbing handy. I'll show you what I mean in a second. So, back to front. Again, you can see lots of bumps on the back, and on the front we've got all these really lovely V's. And this, you know, and it really is quite pretty. I think that the knit stitch, and I don't know why most knitters prefer that look to that look. We just do. Now let me see if I can find some ribbing on my really old worn out jumper. This is my old worn out jumper. Oh, you can't really see the ribbing, but you can see there, that's a knit stitch, and in between is a purl stitch, and that's another knit stitch, and that's a purl stitch in between my fingernails. That's a knit stitch. And so when you alternate, and you'll see on the opposite side, it's the opposite. So like on the opposite side of this knit stitch would be a purl stitch, and vice versa. On the opposite side of a purl stitch would be a knit stitch. But you're alternating with ribbing, and that, and you know, Joey, darling, yes, can you take your big furry body away? Oh dear. This gives you elasticity. Obviously this jumper's seen a few better days, so it's not sort of springy like most ribbing would be. Come on, Come on, out of the way. Oh, for goodness sakes. Oh, dear. Thank you. Bye-bye. Right. So that's what we'll be doing in the next video. We'll be doing some ribbing. And I'll show you different styles of ribbing because there's different types of ribbing just to get different effects. Ribbing is really good for a scarf if you're doing a scarf for the first time. Now garter stitch, when you do the knitting both sides and you get the bumps both sides, is also good for a scarf. This, the stockinette stitch where you've got the purl, the knit and the purl on the back, is not so good for knitting because normally it will curl up. Now if you've ever done Tunisian, you know how that curls. Well, so if I didn't have these 2 rows here of purl, this would be curling also. But because I've got these 2 rows of purl stitch here, that's what stops this from curling. So if you were to make a scarf in stockinette where you had this on one side and this on the other without this, it would curl. And that's one of the reasons why I did a couple of stitches, a couple of rows like that, because I didn't want the work to curl and get in the way of me showing you the purl stitch. So I'm just going to quickly do a row of knitting, and then we can do another row of purl. Okay, so I'll just do another row of purl. So once again, yarn is in front of the needle. We're coming in from the right hand side. We're going from right to left with our needle. We're yarning over and down and pulling it through. Over and down and pull it through. So once again, I'll just show you. Now with the edges, when you get a little bit more experienced, I will show you a way to keep, there's 2 ways that you can keep them very neat. Now, as you notice, this side looks a lot neater than this side, but you're going to get these bumpy bits no matter what you do, but there is a way to make it look a little bit neater. One as is the way in life. One is quite easy and the other is a little bit more complex, but worth learning, especially if you are doing something like a scarf. It's really good for a scarf because it gives you really great edges, but we'll do that a little bit later on. I don't want to give you, too much at once to be thinking about. So that is our pearl stitch. What do you think? Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to leave it there, and I'll be back. Well, I'll be making the next video very quickly, very shortly, and I will be doing some purling. Some ribbing, which will be purl and knit stitch, and we'll be alternating between the two. And I will tell you how I made always huge mistakes and what caused my mistakes and how to avoid them when you're doing ribbing. So take care until then, and I'll see you later. Bye for now.